Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, um, I've avoided talking about this particular subject um, because I was trying to coalesce my ideas, and also I didn't have enough information at first. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Joe X situation is what I'll call it. And you know, I try to avoid controversy and situations like that because everybody's got an opinion. Everybody loves or hates something. And I'll just tell you what my experience with Joe X is. The first time I saw a video, nobody really recommended it to me or anything. It just popped up in my feed, and I watched it and I went, oh my God. Because he's intentionally, destroying a knife, intentionally seeing what it would take. And this is not, this is not something new. If you ever watch Forged in Fire, a lot of times they do tests where they say, we're going to be taking your blade and we're going to be, taking the edge and we're going to be slamming it into these bolts, or we're going to be cutting open ammo cans or whatever. And the purpose of that is to see, did you get the heat treat right? Is it as tough as you think it is? Stuff like that. It's not necessarily, it's designed, forged in fire. It's designed like that. The difference with Joe X is he has a lot more flair, and he's taking modern knives that were made, and production knives and stuff, and putting them through stuff that I personally would never do. But I look at it, and it's like, you know what? If he wants to do that with a knife that he got, more power to him. I personally, it was really hard to watch. You see some of your favorite knives or some go through and they go, oh my God. Well, you got to remember that any knife can be destroyed. I don't care how tough it is. The tougher you make something, the more brittle it is, So a soft steel is going to take a lot more abuse than a really hard Rockwell steel, just because the edge will roll rather than crack and chip, It's just physics a lot of times, but still, I think what it boils down to is how do you react to negative people and haters and stuff like that on a YouTube channel, and specifically. Now, anytime you take somebody's favorite knife and subject it to a lot of abuse, it's gonna piss off the people that really like that knife that don't abuse it. They're gonna like, yeah, but, and then you start getting into knives where all of a sudden knives are being made and built to be tanks, super tough, and if you ever are in a situation where you want something almost indestructible, then yeah, you'll want something like the 5 instead of the 6, because it's thicker, it's tougher. I watched Joe X destroy this one. Yeah, he did destroy an SE5, but he couldn't break the tip. And man, he puts effort. He puts a lot of effort into his videos. He does a lot of crazy things. It's unfortunate that you can't see him now. Some of them are. He said in his response video that he doesn't mind if other people share, his former videos if they still have them. He just set all of his to private because of his issues. And I went through a similar situation in my lock channel, because you're going to get, if anytime you start a YouTube channel, and anybody that's thinking about starting one, in a knife one in particular, but really any YouTube channel on any topic, you've got to keep in mind that you're putting your videos out. Yes, you think it's to a specific audience, but it's to the world. And I literally mean to the world, anywhere in the world. Now you think about the number of people in the world that have access to the internet and can leave a response or a comment, leaving out the fact that there are bots and AI out there that are just designed to elicit a response out of you, preferably negative, if you say certain words or phrases. And so you've got all that combined. And if you go up there, a lot of times you're innocent. You don't know what's going on. Hey, this is fun. You're having a lot of fun. You're sharing your views with your friends and everything. People like everything. And then sooner or later, you're going to get a hater. And it's how do you react to that? And in Joe's ex situation, it's the same way. A hater. Somebody that didn't like what he was doing, and it's perfectly legal for him to do what he wants to do on his own property, but because they don't like, he's crazy or whatever. He runs around, half dressed in the middle of the night with a gas mask on or something. It looks weird to them. So what do? They call the cops, because the cops are going to protect them from weirdos and strange stuff. Well, you know what? It's okay to be weird if you don't hurt anybody. He's not hurting anybody. He's on his own land. You know what used to be your own land meant that as long as you're not hurting anybody else, it's pretty much your rules on your land, As long as, it has its limitations. Like, for example, if you have a stereo and you say, this is my stereo and this is my audio, and everything, and I can turn it up as loud as I want, anytime I want. Well, no. If you've got neighbors that can hear that, then your sound is intruding on other people. And I guess what his situation was, he's got private property, but there's a public road that goes by it. And there's people in his village that don't like him, I mean, I don't know the whole Joe X story. I just know what I know from what his responses are and everything else. And I think it's bad that when somebody is doing valuable content from all the, from what I read from the knife manufacturers, they weren't having any problem with it. It was like, look, if you want to, like Essie has got a lifetime guarantee. I don't know if he ever sent one in to him, but he could, it's no questions asked, right? And I'm pretty sure they would honor it. They'd give him another knife, here you go. That's kind of like, to me though, if you do that on purpose, that to me is kind of like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You get somebody that's a professional eater and goes in there and just wipes them out, but not one day, but every day. If somebody did that every day, you could see how that could cost them. Like, sooner or later, they're going to have to modify that warrant and say, look, if you intentionally abuse this, but Essie doesn't do that. I mean, so still, it might change. I'm just saying, though, that it's good. It's good to see these tests, and it's good to do it. I would never do it, and I wouldn't abuse the warranty. And I don't think Joe X ever sent them in, for replacement. He just said, here you go, this is it. If they're going to break, you're going to shoot rifles at them and pistols and bang them on an iron rod. And I mean, it's entertaining, but man, if you first start watching it, oh my God, it's hard to take. It's hard to take, because you're going to see your favorite knife that you think is really tough. Maybe a lot, some of it is just reputation. And I'm not mentioning any knife here. I just have Essies because I got the example of, if you're going to carry, which one would you want to carry if you can only carry one type of thing? And it all gets down to like toughness area. Well, definitely this one it's tough. So is this one. You know what? I bet both of these are going to outlast me for all the uses that I would use on a knife. But you know what? I'd still want like a something smaller, a backup. This is a lot better than the rest of those. And yeah, the steel is not a super steel and everything else, but it gets the job done. So for me, all these tests were entertaining, but it wouldn't. A knife doesn't have to pass the Joe X test as far as like being indestructible for me to want to buy it. I mean, you can have your own personal preference for everything. I love novelty knives. They don't cost much. They have it's a cheap, like a comic book, type of character or something on it. It's acrylic and a crack. Yeah, and it's inexpensive. It's still a knife. And I like it, not because of the steel, even though this is a perfectly fine knife. It just reminds me of something from the past. Even though I never really had a Barlow when I was a kid, I would have loved to have a Barlow. It's perfect size, and it's not But again, it's all in personal preference, and it all comes down to integrity and toughness, you know. And I think Joe X, is very tough physically and everything else. But uh, even even the haters win if you give up. I don't know how he can do it. I understand you might need to take shell shock. You might need to take a little rest, a little R&R, and get away from it. But if you allow someone to shut you down, in a way you've given up. So what does it take to break Joe X? And that's what people, I guess, were looking for on this. That's what haters usually try to do. They want you to get involved with them. The trolls, like I said, the best thing to do is not feed them, not entertain them, don't listen to them. But if the law starts getting involved and everything, it's in your face. Then you have to. Or like another woman that was in a doing bushcraft stuff, and she's nice. She does backpacking and everything. She got a stalker. Somebody figured out where she was and put a trail cam up there, was taking pictures of her. Now, something that she enjoyed is no longer enjoyable. She had to shut her channel down too for reasons, I mean, she came back, but still, it's not the same after that. And it's because it's easy to generate hate. It's not easy to generate positive content or positive thoughts or to get people, because those aren't as strong as emotions usually. It's like usually it takes a little bit more. You have to like give up your fixed ways or beliefs and everything. You have to mold and give up. Whereas hate is just like that. It's like a fire. It's like a match. You can just strike it. You can say, hey, I don't like him because he's green. I hate those green dinosaurs. Oh, man. Yellow dinosaurs, on the other hand, are perfectly fine. It's far superior simply because they're yellow. Can't you tell? Everybody knows that, I mean, so you get into all that, and why both arguments are illogical. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color they are. To me, with knives, yeah, it's nice to know which one, if I ever get attacked by a car, I know, hey, I better grab this and make sure I got some good hand protection. Because if it slips off, man, I'm going to cut the crap out of my hand from stabbing this. And if I ever do splits like that, yeah, you're going to read about it in the hospital. I can't do that. So, some of it is impractical, but still, it was always entertaining. It was always fun. And you don't have to watch it. If you look at it and like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see my SE3 break. And he I watched it. He snapped it, right along the jimping, which, I can take or leave jimping. But if it's going to sit there and make it where it's, a natural stress point where it's going to fracture, maybe you can leave off jimping. I was like I said, I've never been a huge fan of jimping. I like the feel of smooth up here, and my thumb never slips off. But maybe it works for some people. Maybe it comes in handy. Your hands slippery, blood or guts and everything, and you're bearing down. And if it was just smooth over there, just slide right off. Okay, jimping's good for you. But anyway, like I said, it's all personal preference. And I think the people that, worry about Joe, don't worry about Joe. I think he's going to be all right. I don't know him or anything, but I admire what he does and what he did. And I didn't watch all of his videos. I kind of wish I would have now, because they're not available and stuff. Like, oh man, I wonder how this did and everything. But I got the gist of it, basically. If he doesn't come back for mental or legal reasons or whatever, I'd understand. I mean, I can't impose on somebody else. But my thought also is that don't let the haters win. In any situation, if you're in the right and you're trying to do something, and you're gonna get it sooner or later. People do not like to see you prosper or do good or be happy or enjoy what you're doing or your opinions about anything or the color of your skin or the way you talk or your accent or the country you come from or the way you vote or they think the way you vote or anything. There's opinions like that. Everybody's got a whole spectrum of what they'll tolerate and not tolerate. And when you get on a YouTube channel, you got to be able to just say, look, there are some definite jerks and trolls out there. And there are some people that their only purpose is to bug you. They only want to bug you. That's all they want to do. And the more they bug you, the happier they are. They feed on negative energy, not positive. And it might be because they're worthless themselves. And they don't want anybody else to have any worth. And my thought is, even trolls, you don't want to get so triggered that you think any negative criticism to what you're saying is a troll. You can also go to the other extreme, where you're like, wow, unless you agree with me, I'm not going to allow you, to dissent. Some people just, like I said, are trolls. They just throw out trigger words and everything. They just want to bug you. And other people just have a strong opinion, They just don't like Chinese knives, if you want to put it that way. They don't like Chinese knives. And maybe they've never explored it. And then another example is maybe they tried a Chinese knife and the first one they got was crap. Well, what would you do in that situation if you heard all this stuff like, oh, these knives are great, they're fantastic and everything. And you get one and it's like, wow, kind of a weak spring, look at that. No snap? What? And then, you start looking at it a little bit more correctly. And let's say that you got the one I don't like, pin wrap or blade wrap, with the raised portion right here. The kick was ground down too much. And now, when you do that, which some people will say, oh, an expensive knife. This is not an expensive knife. An expensive knife, you should always ease it down. And some knives are designed that if you do that, I think like the French Laguli, I probably pronounced it wrong. They don't have if you do that, you will get pin wrap, and it's not the quality of the knives that's doing it, it's just the way it's designed. But these are designed that the kick should raise it up enough so that it doesn't hit any high points down there, and the tip doesn't protrude enough to snag you, right? Well, you got to keep in mind what expensive, type of knife you got. If you paid $350 to $450 for this knife, you would want everything to be perfect. Centered, best steel, whatever steel you think is the best steel in there, fit and finish, immaculate. You could hold up, to the light. You're not going to see any gaps anywhere. It's got a definite snap and not too much. It's not weak like this one right here. Oh my God. But you know what? You're going to pay a lot more for that. And this one is made in China. And we can go into the whole politics of made in China and stuff like that. But like I said in one of my most viewed videos, if you come down to it, a lot of times it's not the quality for the amount of money that you're paying for issue. It's where it's being manufactured is where most people draw the line. Because China is a communist country. And a lot of people, myself included, do not like the communist form of government against people. It's just a personal thing. I don't know them. I don't know, maybe if I met a Communist Party official, I might like him. I doubt it, and it's probably never going to happen. But the haters, some people will hate in that. If you get to where anybody that disagrees that, like one person recently, I won't, like I said, I won't mention their name or anything, but they were arguing with me that they were junk, and I agreed. Hey, if I got my first knife was a piece of crap, like one of the worst rough edges I ever got was a Congress, 3 of the blades had pin rep, 3 out of 4, and the 4th one was right on the edge of it. And after, I didn't know how to do it. You know, everybody always told me, you just sharpen it out. You just sharpen it out and it'll be all right. Rather than test them, I sharpened every one that had pin rep. I sharpened every one, and then I went like this. And it came back right away. And man, it took a while to get those other ones. Even though it's 440A, I had to put them in a jig. I was trying to make sure they were nice and sharp. It was hair shape and sharp and everything. And the first time I let them drop, hadn't taken care of the problem. Which is, sometimes it's really, you have to file down that piece down there. It's barely noticeable. If you can get something in there without scratching the liners and everything else, you don't want to take out too much, like I said, because that's usually the back spring of the knife. If you break that, you basically have to replace the knife, and you would have to replace that back spring. It's a hole drilled in this back spring that's pinned in place, and it's kind of like a pivot point. You can see it's pivoting. A little bit of it's coming up when you do the 90 degree right there. Where does it pivot off of? Right there. So that's the disadvantage of that too. That method, there's really no real good way. The best way is return the knife. If it's like a Rough Rider, built by hand, back for life, return the knife. Do whatever it is, send it in the mail and get a return form, and they'll probably send you another one. It may not be that one, that one might not, if you waited a long time or it was a older one, it's not in production anymore, they might send something else. It's not 100% perfect, that system, but for the price you're paying for a knife, $15 to $20 or so, not counting the reserves and all that other stuff, I think that's pretty good. And I'll take advantage of it as long as it's available. And yeah, it might be hurting, supporting the Chinese government in some way, but like I said, so is everything else you buy that's Chinese, whether you know it or not. You may be buying stuff that's got Chinese ingredients and it says made in America of foreign products, because they know it's getting a little politically sensitive. So anyways, I've run my mouth too much on this, but anyways, my thought is, Joe X, you probably don't watch my videos or anything, and a lot of people send him emails. I'm not going to do that. He doesn't know me, but just from what I watched of him, I appreciate what he's done, and I don't want him to give up. And I wish him the best, whatever happens, So, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.